So the first question is, what is your morning routine?
Get up, meditate for 20 minutes, and they either go and cycle or swim or play golf with some mates.
Lovely.
And then eat muesli.
And eat muesli. Why do we have to explain things to children, Andrew?
Well, it's about them, isn't it? It's one of the hardest aspects of our role is how to talk and connect with children, and the best of us can do it with ease. The rest of us are often terrified, and because we don't naturally do it, and we have to get alongside them, and we have to learn that skill set.
When children are removed from their families, when should social workers think about reunification?
The first day of removal is the first day of return for me. And we need to think about it that way, because that's when you've created the crisis. That's when you can enlist most people quickest. And we've demonstrated that time and time again. Where we've got the best results out of signs of safety, we've approached the first day of removal as the first day of return and pulled a network that day.
Should we celebrate World Social Work Day? And if so, what should we celebrate?
I think this is what we did at the signs of safety gatherings. We would bring practitioners from all around the world, and we get them to present their accounts, their stories of practice they're proud of. Because it was a signs of safety gathering, they used the frame of signs of safety. That's what we should be celebrating, not turning it into a hoopla American rah-rah-rah, social workers are great, yeah. Let's get back to the lived experience of what social workers can stake a claim for and what they're proud of. That we're only as good as what they do with the families and communities and children.
Thank you.
Just following on from that, I'll just read a little bit from your dissertation that really speaks to this, which you write. You reference the work of Montague, suggests that his experiences tell him that the best practice was in fact dirty social work. He says real social workers get dirty week after week. Their lives and the lives of the clients cannot be scrubbed clean. Many of the situations child protection workers are typically faced with are ugly problems. Since perfect solutions are not possible in the majority of the cases, this means staking a claim for notions of constructive practice in uncertain is enough. My next question is, what is the meaning of life?
Let's
Less than
belonging?
a minute. Belonging.
How about belonging?
Yeah.
That's one of our deepest needs. But as the Belfast poet and activist said, belonging is a deeply felt need, and it can be sacred, it can be divine, and it can be toxic. You think about the MAGA movement. They want to belong. You don't belong, so I'll drive a car into you. Padraig Ó Tuama, worked as a mediator for 20 years between the Protestants and the Catholics. So he says, borders and belonging are sacred concepts. We've really got to think what they mean in a diverse world.
Okay. Wow. You've worked a lot in the UK, Andrew. Is there anything that distinguishes the UK social worker from your point of view?
This often makes English folks squirm, but do remember there's nothing an Australian likes better than sticking it up a pom. And I'll say this anywhere in the world, you have the most proceduralised system in the world. You have the most powerful audit commission in the world. They come in and say, not good. Suddenly all senior leaders are stood down or move on. That doesn't happen in that way anywhere else in the world. It's not the most complex system in the world. The Netherlands wins that prize. And you talk about, you wear as a badge of honour on your sleeve, on your heart, really. You'll touch your heart and say, we're a joined up system. And by God, you are. But it's calcified, folks.
Wow.
The conferences happen, but it's like, yep, we did the conference, tick the box, beauty. Were those conversations, was that work in those conferences actually meaningful for outcomes for the children and parents? And did the voice of those children and families actually get in there? That was the aspiration of restorative justice, and that is the aspiration of message of some research from back in 95. But we got the procedure and we lost the heart of it. of a joined-up system.
What are some of your favourite or most influential books and why?
Original Blessing by Matthew Fox, Centering by MC Richards, and Putting Difference to Work by Steve DeShazer.
And just as a follow-on from that,
Good.
what's one book that you're currently reading?
The one book I'm currently reading is Borders and Belonging by Padraig O'Tuma from Belfast.
Well, that's we didn't prepare Andrew for these questions, by the way. What's one book you're looking forward to? Messy Social Work by Rich
I am. I'm hanging out for that book to come so I can promote it. I'm hoping to get book launch.
What about this one? Will you ever retire? We talked about this earlier. I think it was off mic. So yeah.
My mentors never have. MC Richards, poet, potter, painter, activist. Matthew Fox, renegade Catholic priest that was kicked out by the Vatican as a heretic. Steve DeShazer, who created the brains trust behind Solution Focus. He was doing his business in Vienna when he died in the hospital. He went there to do his business. He collapsed on the plane, taken to the hospital. So he was working right up to the last day. And so I guess it's one of the struggles for social work. We have the idea of the profession, which is fine. Do we have the idea of a vocation? Mm. Indigenous communities, you talk to them about professional and personal separation, work-life balance. Like what? You talk to them about retiring. Excuse me? Retire from what? These are very Western concepts.
That's fascinating. Thank you.
And then the final one from me is related really to what you've just been saying. What makes for a good social work career?
Sorry, what makes for a good social work or a social work career?
Social work career.
I think you really got to engage with your sense of purpose, because social workers work within bureaucracies. They're going to want to tell you, a long time ago, a guy called Terry Murphy from Teesside University, but he worked in Northern Ireland child protection during the Troubles. Red Signs of Safety is a fantastic book, Andrew. What you've forgotten, though, is child protection social workers are disciplined practitioners in disciplined organisations. So a good social work career is how you're going to work within the bureaucracy and maintain your sense of purpose and your sense of identity. Or are you just going to be, delivering, ticking the boxes, and that in the world we live in now, that is a hell of a lot. It's much harder now than when I graduated, because there was a lot of people saying, what are you here for? Don't tell me you're here to do this model or that model, or to earn money or be a social worker. What are you here for, Andrew? And don't tell me you're here to help people. Too simple. What's your purpose? Who are you going to be as you go deeper and deeper into the journey of being a social worker? And how are you going to, that for me is the core question I'm going to ask anybody who wants to take social work seriously, because you can also, if it's all about them, you lose yourself. And I see people burning out because they've lost their sense of purpose. And when the systems have exhausted them, like they're so hollowed out, could say a lot more about that. But for me, it's come back to your sense of purpose.
And final of these 10 questions, Andrew, you've collaborated with a lot of people over the years. Do you think you're a good collaborator? Is that a natural state of being for you, collaborating in the work?
That's a fantastic question, Tim, and it's always a mixed blessing collaborating with somebody, because I'm also what my mother called a hound of heaven. I tend to, so I can drive people crazy with my intensity.
I've never heard that phrase before. That's kind of wonderful.
It's a biblical statement.
Okay.
For people, for some of the people I've collaborated over the years, I've become too much, to be honest. Eileen Munro, we just go toe to toe. And, the reason I love Eileen so much, and we've gone just, I love the woman. She wouldn't say it, but I think she loves me. I stay in a house when I'm in England, but the thing about us is she loves it when I take her on. I love it when she takes me on. And when Eileen Munro takes you on, you know all about it, and it develops who I am. And so I'm always looking for colleagues who really want to, push. We're so busy being nice to each other and being polite to each other, it becomes saccharine, and so I'm that sort of person that, wants, and that's why I want this, one of my best mates here in Perth, Dennis Haskell. He reads my writing and he carves it to pieces as a literature professor and a poet. And I'm like, thank you. That develops rigor.
Well, Andrew, thank you. I love that run through. That's our 10 questions.
And they can find out more about what you're up to on your website, Turnell Plus.